What do Falcons do? We rise up. Welcome to Rise Up Reactions, the show where we talk all things Falcons, NFL, Georgia sports, and in general, the sports news of the day. I'm your host, Dr. Lee Denning, the Golden Hard Doc, and a lifelong sports fan. And guys, the Falcons are undefeated in the year of 2024. But we ended the year on New Year's Eve with a loss to the Justin Fields amazingly led Chicago Bears. Justin Fields played his heart out, played incredible football, has really turned it on the last few weeks of the season. It looks like Chicago may end up keeping him, so he was a candidate that might have been somebody we could trade for. But again, I don't know what Chicago is going to do. They've locked in the number one pick overall with the Carolina Panthers losing this past week. But the Falcons... bad performance by defense is not something we have said a lot this year, but defense was on the field quite a lot, and really this is not a defense that is built to deal with mobile quarterbacks, and we've seen that with Josh Dobbs, we've seen it with Kyler Murray, we've seen it with Justin Fields. Anybody that has the ability to run just absolutely torches this defense, and I think the epitome of that play is just the sack that Justin Fields eluded after functionally being on the ground and somehow staying up, only to drive the ball down in for a touchdown on that drive. So, that was more or less the epitome of how that game went. I don't know what to say. Taylor Heinicke played awful. The offense played awful. The defense played awful. Younghoe Koo was in god-awful conditions and missed the first two field goal attempts that he tried, which could have kept us relatively close in that game for a while. It could have been 13-14 for a little while, us to them. So maybe that changes things. Maybe it doesn't. But either way, Falcons now have one single route to the postseason. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, we don't deserve it. We are probably going to lose in New Orleans this coming week because the Saints play different in New Orleans. They just absolutely came out and destroyed Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay, and now they're getting to go home to close out the season, and we are the team that they hate the most, and they are the team that we hate the most. They play different in New Orleans. It is a very, very tough environment. I don't know if Heinicke is going to start. I don't know if Ritter is going to start. It doesn't really matter because ultimately there's one shot at the postseason, and that would be we win and Tampa Bay loses to the Carolina Panthers. I don't honestly see Tampa Bay losing, so I think this is going to more or less be a meaningless game. And if it's a meaningless game, I always want to beat the Saints, but I'm starting to think from a fan perspective more about draft position. Currently sitting at 9. We might move up to 7 or 8 with a loss in this game. So I don't think it would change us that much. The only thing I would say is winning would get us to 8 and 9, which would be slightly better than what we've done in the past. I'm not saying that that's a good thing. That would be 6 losing seasons in a row. And again, I have talked about this before, but next year we get the AFC West, which includes Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, the Chargers, the Raiders, and who else is it? Oh, the Denver Broncos, who are probably going to move on from Russell Wilson, who has now all of a sudden become a candidate to possibly find himself in Atlanta once he gets cut from the Denver Broncos. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's the best long-term move. I will have a video where I talk about what quarterbacks I think would make a difference towards the end of this season, probably after the Super Bowl when we actually start talking about free agency. But until then, I just don't have any passion to talk about this game at this point. It's a frustrating loss for the Falcons. It is pretty much the summarization of what it feels like to be an Arthur Smith-led team at this point. If Arthur Smith is still the head coach going into next year, I don't know why you would do that. Because, again, looking at that, we're playing the AFC West, we're playing the NFC East, which is the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Giants, and the Commies. Again, Commies have beat us 2 years in a row. No reason to think at this point they wouldn't beat us 3 years in a row. And that's a game that we do, again, have to go to FedEx Field for. Then if the season ended right now, we would be playing the number 3 team in each division, which would be the Seahawks. We would play the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we would play the who else would we play out there? We would play the Minnesota Vikings at this point. So from the 2 NFC divisions and then the AFC North, which we will play somebody from next year. Again, I want to be realistic here, and then we play our own division twice, and obviously we're not at a point where we can sweep the division yet. Realistically, if Arthur Smith is the coach and we don't figure out quarterback, we're staring down the barrel of a best-case scenario 5-12 season next year. This is a great year to potentially draft a quarterback. We're going to be in a position to move up. I think it is well worthwhile at this point to trade up, trade our first, second, and maybe even, if we can move all the way up to number 1, a future first-rounder, to move up and get the guy that we want. If we do just want to move up a little bit or just wait and see how the draft plays out, I think there's a chance that we get some of these other guys. My personal favorite, particularly after watching this weekend and seeing playoff football, would be Michael Penix Jr. He is my favorite candidate. That or Jaden Daniels from LSU. And those are guys, if we wait a little bit, if we don't have the number 1 overall pick, because I don't think either one of them is going to go number 1 overall, but we would have to move up most likely to ensure that we get our guy. I just don't know if we are able to do that. You have the Arizona Cardinals who are picking up there. Don't know. It depends on what they're going to do with Kyler Murray. They just beat the Eagles, so who the heck knows? And then you have the New England Patriots, who are 100% going to take a quarterback. So somebody's going to move into the number 1 position would be my suspicion. I think that the Bears will fire Eberflus and keep Justin Fields and let somebody else have a chance to possibly develop him into the quarterback that he probably should be. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it, guys. It's been a bad week. It's been an incredibly demoralizing week. The wild card is completely shut out to us now. The only chance in playoffs, and again, if we make the playoffs, it's great that we get to host a game in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, but we're 8-9 going into the playoffs, probably playing the Eagles. And I just don't. Eagles were Cowboys won, and I just don't see that working out in our favor. Tough week, but Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you to the over 200 of you who have subscribed. My goal was to hit 500 by the end of the 2023 regular season. Unless something crazy happens, that's not going to happen. So that's going to be my goal for the end of 2024, is to start approaching that 500 mark. I still would love to get there. Thank you for everybody who has been a part of this community. It means the world to me. You guys are awesome. I hope you have a wonderful start to the 2024 year, and I hope it continues on for you, your family, your friends. I wish you good health from the medical side of me. Thank you for watching, liking, sharing, and subscribing. And as always, rise up.